Hey guys, how's it going today? So I got a message from Buddy about, I guess, employment and entrepreneurship and getting work or starting your own work. And I figured I got a couple things to say about that, seeing I was able to start a couple of businesses. But it's kind of a long story, so I guess strap yourself in. So yeah, in 1997, around about there, I was working in Calgary. I'd gotten a job apprenticing, and the whole apprenticing gig was kind of a crazy deal for me. Basically, I ended up working for a guy who had been taught or self-taught tattooer who kind of cut his teeth in the prison system, and he had kind of worked around and taught himself a lot of stuff. And I've been drawing a lot, so he let me kind of hang around his tattoo shop and do some art and answer phones and stuff. And one thing led to another, and eventually I landed an apprenticeship. You know, I got fired a couple times because I didn't take it seriously and bounced around a little bit. But when he had fired me from my tattooing job, I took off to Calgary, and I was working at this, I didn't know how to tattoo worth a damn yet, but I was working in this place called Esoteric Body Art in about 1997. And I ran into a bunch of punks going to a local gig, and I asked them, I'm like, hey man, where are the shows around here? And they said, well, what kind of bands are you into? So I dropped some names, and they said, okay, this guy's worth some of our time. So we started hanging out, and I got this new group of friends, very similar to my group of friends from Saskatoon. So one of these guys, and he goes by the name Rich Jack, I think is what he's going by now. He's a self-employed punk rocker. And this was a really interesting one to me because I was just working at a tattoo shop, you know, showing up, doing my job, going home, and I sucked. But this guy was self-employed. And I remember to this day what he had done is he had himself a little hatchback, and he had some hedge clippers and a little lawnmower that folded up, and he could fit it in his hatchback. Cell phone, and some business cards. And what he would do is he would go into the rich areas of Calgary with his little hatchback, and he would go up to houses. Hey, this is my name. This is what I do. His little business was called Mr. Mow-It-All. Mr. Mow-It-All. It was such a cute name. And but it was catchy, and people remembered it, and they could repeat it. So he would go up to a house, and he would say, hey, I noticed you got this big lawn. I'm willing to do your lawn, let's say once a week for $30 each week. And, I'll come back or every 2 weeks, and I'll bring my gear and I'll just do it. And it's cash in hand. And he would do 3 to 4 lawns or little front yard areas a day as Mr. Mow-It-All with his hatchback and his lawnmower and his hedge clippers. And so he would go into these neighborhoods being a punk rock tattooed scumbag and be making in between, $90 and $120 a day just from his hatchback. And as a punk rockers, we're all like, holy shit, this is a guy who was able to have beer money, gas money, pay his rent, and not have to kiss ass for a living. Only by having a rudimentary skill set, a way of getting around, and some tools. And the heart to go out and say, hi, this is who I am. This is what I can do for you. Do you need any of what I can accomplish? And it worked for him. He was able to keep himself employed all summer, and then he had to do whatever he had to do during the winter. Now, another angle on that is to get some rudimentary snow removal equipment and to go around and say, hey, I notice you got a big driveway. I notice you've got a lot of stuff that needs work on. I can shovel your driveway for that same cost I was doing your lawn during the summer. This principle carried over to me starting my own business. So a few years later, when I came back to town and finished working in Calgary, and I ran into another apprentice from my old boss who he had also fired, we sat down, we had some drinks, and I said, well, let's do it ourselves. We both know how to do some of this stuff fairly rudimentarily, but let's try and get our own little program together, and we'll get a small spot. I think it cost us like $250 a month. He had some equipment, I had some equipment. I got a bunch of little business cards with our cell numbers on them, and we just did it. And as we went, we had to jump through some hoops. You had to go to City Hall and get your business license. We had to call the government and register a business name. But that's how we ended up starting to get our first clientele, with a little business card and a cell phone and some skills and some equipment. So it didn't take long before people started hearing about us, that we were in town, that we were doing this. Plus, we were giving out really good promotional deals to very influential people right off the bat. You know, like rave promoters, punk rock promoters, band members that were very visible, that would tell people where they got their service done. There's this principle in marketing, it's called beehiving. And a lot of people don't know about this. So when a bee is flying around and it finds a field that it can, get pollen at, it'll go back to the hive and it does a little dance and it tells everybody else in the hive where that field is. So in marketing, this is the principle. If you could find a tight-knit community, like let's say firefighters or gym bros or a yoga studio, and you do a product for them that they like, they will go back and tell everybody about this one little service that caters to our community. That's called beehiving. So we tried to beehive in the heavy metal scene, the punk scene, the rave scene, the hip hop scene, and promoted by giving out discount stuff to influential people in the scene. And then we started getting clientele from that. So yeah, it kind of depends if you want to work for yourself or, get a job with somebody else. Obviously, entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. There's a ton of responsibilities and risks and hassles that go along with running your own business. And some people just want to make a living, right? Legally, as easily as possible or as functionally as possible. Tons of construction sites will just hire you if you can move a shovel. You know what I mean? You got a pair of steel-toed boots, show up and just say, I'm willing to work, right? I don't know. I'm not a guru. I'm just an old guy with some advice. I've been there and done that in a lot of ways. So maybe these strategies will work for you and maybe they won't. You got to take it all with a grain of salt and your mileage may vary. But in my experience, I've been at this a long time and I've very seldom not had work, right? Even getting clientele for tattooing. You got to get out there, you got to shake hands, and you got to let your personality come through first. If you just expect this to be an easy cakewalk and that people owe this to you, you're not going to get ahead. Either way, I wish the best for you guys. Get out there, start pressing the flesh, shaking hands, get that resume, or get those business cards on your cell phone going. Either way, whatever the case may be, I wish you the best on all your future endeavors. Peace, love, and granola. Stay out of trouble.